Welcome, everybody, to the CSBS Sports Edition. I am your host, Chris Stanton, and we are broadcasting to you live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Today, we've got a great show coming up for you. We're going to be talking about a breakout star in the NFL, and we're going to be covering the last hour of the MLB trade deadline. But before we get to that, we're going to go to a segment that we like to call Calling Out the BS. And this segment is brought to you by Arby's. Try Arby's Giant 2-for-6 meal mix and match. Choose two from the beef and cheddar and the roast beef, each with 5-ounce serving of roast beef. Only at participating Arby's. Arby's. Sliced fresh, tastes great. So, Calling Out the BS. This is a segment we do on a weekly basis where over the past week in sports we look at mistakes and general things that happen in the world of sports in which make you raise an eyebrow or tilt your head in consternation. And the first one that really stood out to me is the Oulu Energy Arena in Finland. It is a hockey arena that has taken the whole craze of advertising to a whole new level. And if you have a chance, check this out online. It's called the Oulu Energy Arena in Finland. And what they've done is they've taken all their advertisers, all their logos, and put it on the ice. Not on the boards, not around the rink, and not naming rights. Literally superimposed on their ice are dozens of logos. Their ice rink looks like a NASCAR. And I'm all for advertising. I understand the economics behind it, and I really have made my peace with it. I mean, honestly, if you're going to pay me tens of millions or hundreds of millions to put your name on my stadium, go for it. I don't care if it's the Depends Stadium or if it's the X-Lax Arena. You put your name on it, you're going to dish out all that money for it. However, once your ads start interfering with the game, that's where I have to draw a line. And this will definitely interfere with the game. Take the goalie. The goalie's job is to focus on a tiny 3-inch in diameter puck that can go up to 90-something miles per hour. And now he's got to try and see that not only through all the bodies on the ice, but he's got to pick it out from all the different multicolored ads that are on the ice rink. It's a ridiculous promotion, and it's something that you should take a look at. And if you share my outrage, tweet me at the CSBS on Twitter. Also, if you have any comments that you'd like to call in and talk about, my number is 630-534-0779. That's 630-534-0779. Call in and voice your opinion. Another offender for this week calling out the BS is Cedric Ellis. Cedric Ellis was a first-round draft pick by the New Orleans Saints in 2008. He was the 7th overall, and he was given a 5-year, $30 million contract. He grossly underperformed. During that 5 years, he had 12.5 sacks and only 2 forced fumbles, and I believe he only had one game in which he started all 16 games. Not exactly what you're looking for the 7th overall pick. That's fine. I've got no problem with the person being a bust. He's not the first, and he certainly won't be the last. But here's my problem. Coming off of his rookie contract, nobody wanted him except for the Chicago Bears, who gave him a $1 million contract, and he came into training camp. 1 week after training camp, with the $1 million contract that he was given, at the age of 28, he decides to retire. Now, if you want to retire and get out while you can, God bless you. You make $30 million and you want to move on with your life, that's fine. But not a week after training camp starts. I mean, what is going on here? Why, first of all, why does he want to retire? He's entering what should be his prime. He's still getting paid 7 figures to play, and he's going to a defensive-minded team with a lot of veterans. He could really hit his stride. It just kind of makes you curious.
My curiosity is killing him just like a cat would be killed by the curiosity, yeah.
Well, I don't have the answer, but the thing that really bothers me about it is that he made a commitment to the team and then quit on them after training camp. They had made concessions. They had drafted and gotten free agents based upon having this guy in camp and having him compete for a position in the lineup. And because of his failure to live up to his commitment, now they have to find another person to fill that role. And it's not like he was a starter or a Pro Bowl player. But the fact is, if he would have made his intentions clear from the start, maybe the Bears would have drafted differently. Maybe they would have gone after different free agents. Maybe this, maybe that. But it screws the team over when, after you give your word, sign your contract, and at the age of 28, you decide to retire. One more thing that I'm going to call out, and that is the MLB union. In the wake of all this biogenesis scandal, the MLB union has been talking with the league and have publicly announced that they will not be defending athletes whose the evidence is very clear on. In other words, they're not going to try and protect their members of their union. First of all, then what's your purpose? A union that publicly says it's not going to support its members. If a person violates your union rules, you kick them out, that's one thing. But you have a group of people charged with the same thing, and you're just waving the white flag and let baseball do whatever, that pisses me off. Can you imagine if a teachers union came out and said that? It's like, yeah, our teachers need better wages and better working conditions, but you know what? We're not going to do anything with them this year. I'm sorry. That's your purpose. That is why you exist. Here's the second reason I don't like it. As a lawyer, I kind of look at this with a legal eye, and I'm pretty sure that's illegal. When you join a professional association like the Major League Baseball, the National Football League, National Basketball Association, whatever, you sign a contract where you are required to enter the league's union. The reason is because there's a collective bargaining agreement between the teams and the league. And part of that agreement is that any decision or instance that should arise that needs you to have some sort of debate or litigating process, it has to go through arbitration first. So basically, except for major things like the Aaron Hernandez trial, you have to go through arbitration. And because the courts don't want to deal with all of baseball's petty crap, they just let them get away with pretty much anything they want. So the baseball has created their own legal system. It is the union's job to represent the players in those proceedings. And now all these players are being told that they're going to be left high and dry. Honestly, if the players get together and wanted to, they could probably take the league and the union to court for breach of contract and for probably some sort of constitutional violation. But we're not going to get into that, and in the end, nothing's probably going to come of it other than a few suspensions. But to be completely and utterly remove yourself from the situation like the union has and say, we're not going to defend our members, that is BS. And those union heads should not only be fired, but they should be sued. After talking about that, there is something serious I do want to talk about, and that's the Jimmy D Foundation. All of us, at some point or another, have been affected by cancer, whether it's someone you loved, a friend, or even yourself. All of us have been touched by it. So it's important that you join the Jimmy V Foundation in the fight against cancer. The V Foundation donates 100% of all donations to cancer research, but they need our help. So go to the www.jimmyv.org to find out how to donate. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. As I said, we're also going to talk about the trade deadline today. The trade deadline comes up at 4 o'clock, and so we're in the midst of the last hour of it. There has been a couple major trades, however, and one of the major ones has been between the White Sox, the Red Sox, and the Tigers, and this is a really interesting trade. It was no secret that the White Sox, who are one of the worst teams in baseball, were trying to unload some of its expensive talent, including right-hander Jake Peavy. The former Cy Young winner has been on the DL for the past few years. However, none of that has had to do with his arm. So the Red Sox wanted another arm to compete with the surging Tampa Bay Rays. But they couldn't agree on the type of compensation. The White Sox are looking for quality prospects to rebuild its farm system, and the Red Sox didn't want to give anything valuable to a guy who's been on the DL so much in the last 5 years. enter the Detroit Tigers. They've completed it into a 3-team trade. And why? Because the Tigers are looking for a shortstop. So Peavy is going to the Red Sox. The Red Sox are sending shortstop Jose Iglesias to the Detroit Tigers. And the Tigers are sending their number 1 prospect, Avisail Garcia, who is an outfielder and the old cliche, the 5-tool player who's called Mini Miguel. I don't care if he ever becomes Miguel Cabrera, but if he becomes half that, the White Sox just made out like bandits on this deal. But here's the really interesting part of this trade. It only came together because of the biogenesis scandal. Let me explain. The Detroit Tigers have Johnny Peralta, who is a very good shortstop for them. However, he has been one of the players named it linked to biogenesis. MLB just told the union which players it plans on suspending. So most teams have an idea of who's going to get suspended before it becomes nationally known. The Tigers are desperate to make sure that they are covered because they are hoping for a World Series this year, and losing your not only a defensive stalwart like Johnny Peralta, but a guy who can hit as well would be a major blow to that. So they were desperate to get a quality starting shortstop that can fit in right away. So they go to Boston and they wanted Jose Iglesias, who's a decent hitter and a very good fielder. And because of that, that was the linchpin in the deal between the White Sox and the Red Sox. So the 3 teams get what they want. The White Sox get quality prospects. The Tigers get a shortstop to replace Johnny Peralta should he be suspended. And the Red Sox get that extra arm in their starting rotation to combat the Tampa Bay Rays. And it only happened because of the biogenesis scandal. Very cool and very interesting. And in sports trivial pursuit, that's a question that'll probably come up in 5 to 6 years. Another trade that happened today is with the Los Angeles Angels and the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's have been another surprise story this year, with a relative bunch of unknowns are making another playoff push and are in line to make it. And the Angels have an abundance of salary cap that they are trying to unload. Nobody's going to be taking Pujols this year after that, with that $300 million contract that he's got, the $30 million a year. And nobody's going to take Josh Hamilton, who can't stay healthy or hit above 200 for more than a week and a half. So they sent off their third baseman, a player by the name of Alberto Calaspo. Now the A's have a good third baseman, but luckily this guy is a utility infielder, and they're going to try and slip him into second to replace the incumbent Eric Segard, or they can use him in a platoon-type situation. So this shores up the A's infield, giving them a better defense and a much better hitter that they're going to use at second base. And in return, the Angels get rid of about $5 million of cap per year, and they get a AAA prospect. He was a former former first-round draft pick, 13th overall, 26-year-old by the name of Grant Green. And he's hoping to revive his career with the Los Angeles Angels. And one more that was just announced is pitcher Ian Kennedy from the Diamondbacks is being sent to the Padres for reliever Joe Thatcher and another AA prospect. Kennedy hasn't been having a great year. He's 3-8 with a post-5 ERA. However, the Padres are always looking to get guys on the cheap, and they've been pretty good with pitchers in the past, especially with that pitcher-friendly Petco Park. So they're going to hope and get something out of Ian Kennedy and probably make a final push these last couple months for the playoffs, whereas the Diamondbacks get rid of some cap room, and they get a prospect and an extra reliever, which is what they needed as well. So it's another one of these mutually beneficial trades and not necessarily a cap-released one. And before we move on to our final and main topic today, I just want to give a shout out to the Detroit Pistons. They've done some wonderful work in that front office over the past couple months, and because it's not basketball season, nobody's really talking about it, especially with the trade deadline and NFL camps opening up. But when free agency started, they picked up Chauncey Billups